Hi everyone, Teri Wellbrock here. What a great conversation is coming up here in just a few minutes with Sarah K. Grace. And I love these interviews where there's just that soul connection. And this was certainly one of those. Very empowering for me. I certainly learned a lot myself. Yeah, but just a great conversation on energy and healing and so many ways that you can empower yourself along your own journey. Just a quick reminder to visit my website, terrywellbrock.com, and it's TeriWellbrock, and sign up for my monthly Hope for Healing newsletter, where I put articles and links to shows, but also affiliate links to products and or programs that you can check out, many of which are free, the programs through the Shift Network, to help you, again, along your healing journey. So, all right, now for today's beautiful, wonderful episode. Welcome, everybody, to the Healing Place podcast. I'm your host, Teri Wellbrock, doing another happy dance again because of the amazing guest that I have joining me today. And thank you, Anna Ditchburn, for the introduction. So I have Sarah K. Grace, and she is a psychic paramedic turned holistic first responder. I said psychedelic when I was doing like our before, and I just love that. So I'm going to say psychic and psychedelic. Sarah is now a best-selling author, speaker, and sought-after intuitive healer who bridges the mainstream and holistic worlds. She teaches people how to heal their trauma and embrace their own intuitive gifts by providing powerful healing and step-by-step guidance that makes sense in everyday life. So welcome, Sarah.
Hello. Thank you for having me, Teri. It's
Oh,
wonderful to be here.
absolutely. I'm so thrilled. We had a conversation beforehand that I'm like, okay, let's say all of that again because
Just gabbing on.
yeah. So talk to us a little bit about how you came to move into this role of where you are currently.
Well, it's definitely been a long road, like for most all of us. I've been able to, well, first, I've been a licensed paramedic in California for 20 years now, but I did 15 years in the 911 system. And I've also been able to see, hear, and feel energy outside of the normal senses since the age of 7. Um, but I was raised in South Dakota in the middle of nowhere, pre-internet. And unfortunately, my family was very unstable and very closed. And so when I finally came out and said something about seeing colors and spirits, I got the hellfire and brimstone, like, don't ever talk about that. We'll send you away bit, which for a 7-year-old who just wants to be normal and fit in, that was really jarring and abrupt for me. And at that moment, I developed a sense of toxic shame about my psychic abilities. And I tried for the next 20 plus years to make them go away. I really didn't want to have anything to do with it. And after a lot of volatility and instability, I had some addiction issues. I was just trying to cope and navigate all of the trauma of my upbringing on top of the stimulus. I had a near-death experience. We can get into all that if you want to, but ultimately got myself cleaned up and listening to my inner guidance, became a paramedic, and the energies just started working through me on these 911 calls. And it was absolutely incredible to bear witness to that much death that often, and being able to expand and provide a stabilizing, gentle presence in the middle of this really chaotic situation and watch, the death process, both from the physical experience and the energetic experience. So it was absolutely incredible to witness. And I ultimately, had to come to terms with, like, well, I don't know why I'm like this, but obviously it's not bad. Like, it's helping all these people. So maybe, like, what is this? Maybe I should get educated, So I've studied a lot of modalities: shamanism, medical intuition, energy healing, holistic healing, all these different things for the last 15 years. And it's developed into my own practice. I've put out a couple of books about it, and it's just time for us as sensitives and those of us that are gifted to really come online into our abilities, I
Yeah.
believe.
Oh, could not agree more. I told you, like I'm starting to embrace my ability to pick up my intuitive abilities. And so I don't want to say psychic, but again, to me, I joke around that it's weird little things, but but I'm starting again to embrace it. Standing on my front porch and I'll walk out the door and I'll be like, oh gosh, I haven't seen a hummingbird in a while. And I'm not kidding. Like two little hummingbirds come up and they're like right in front of my face. And I'm like, oh, hi guys. I mean, and it's just those kinds of things that I'm like, oh, okay. Now I'm starting to understand as you like start to listen, I guess.
Absolutely. And it's a gentle reminder, that we are energetic or spiritual beings having a human experience. And we're in a, very tactile, very stimulated an environment with the senses and duality and, the ego and all of the things that comprise the human construct, all of which is okay because it's part of us having our day-to-day experience. But I think that what's happening now is people are starting to wake up. We're going through a huge collective shift, especially over the last couple of years. People have gone through so much trauma and with the lockdowns and with everything that they've been through, and whatever that they've been repressing is starting to come up for them to either heal, right, or opt out, which we're seeing a lot of opt outs at this time too in the 911 system. But it's waking up to something more soulful, right? Something more energetic. And just that reminder that, yeah, that we're energetic beings. And I love that you said you don't necessarily want to call it psychic. I think it's important. I was closeted for 25 years because I didn't want to have anything to do with that word, especially as like a top step senior level paramedic who's like super alpha with all the firefighters and SWAT dudes. I'm not going to be like this weird. And so I think if we can kind of pull apart some of that, there's a lot of stigma associated with that word. There's a lot of misunderstanding associated with that word. There's a lot of fear. And so if that particular word doesn't resonate for you, I totally understand. And energetic, intuitive, high sense perception, we can call it what resonates to you as the individual. And ultimately, it's all the same thing, which is us tuning into our higher consciousness and being able to remember beyond just the tangible reality. Yeah.
Yes. Well, thanks for saying that. I mean, because again, I think growing up very, very Catholic, my dad was a Jesuit brother for 8 years. My mom wanted to be a nun. Like it was like the ultimate of Catholic upbringing. And so, yeah, there was that, it's the devil coming through. It's Satan
Oh, yeah.
trying to get in. It's demon, whatever. Um, there is that religious connotation that's tied to it, that makes it kind of like, oh gosh, is that goodness coming through? But I can honestly speak for myself that I've experienced on a number of different occasions what were blue little orbs, blue little balls coming in, and I was taken to a smoky veil and to the given a glimpse to the light beyond. It was such an incredible light and love that to me, I'm like, nothing could fake that. It was such pure love. It is such pure light that I know without a doubt that this is a gift from this, whether it's God, universe, beautiful source, this beautiful, beautiful essence of love and light.
Absolutely. And you're describing what a lot of us that have had near death experiences, or like for myself, having actually watched so many people die, going back into what is called unity consciousness, which is that all loving, like really beautiful, expanded state of consciousness where everything happens simultaneously, but it makes perfect sense. And it's the most exquisite, nurturing love. And in some schools of thought, that's our true nature, right? And then we incarnate down here to have our little human experience, to have the contrast from that, you know? And so I love what you're saying there. It's great.
Thank you. Yeah, someone had mentioned once Earth School, and I was like, did I sign up for the quadruple PhD program? Like,
Right. Pretty much, I think most of us, pretty much everyone who's incarnated, especially as a sensitive during this time frame, yeah, advanced curriculum for sure.
Yes, right, right. So speaking of which, for those who are listening and have also signed up for the advanced curriculum or any of the Earth School, how do you guide them? What do you do to help them along their healing journeys?
What I do now is I'm all about empowering them into their own wisdom and power. I really believe we're all our own greatest teachers and healers. It's just when we're in it, we don't know what to do, you know? And so when I do energy healing now, and I specialize in psychic surgery, which is kind of a specialty of energy healing, it's very much like total system reset or restoration and auric field clearing, hemisphere balance, chakra realignment, and then specific surgeries. And it's of course in the etheric template, which is energetic. It's not a physical surgery, but it's to open and clear whatever trauma or block you got going in there, which we all do because we've all been through stuff. There isn't a person alive that I've ever seen that has full system flow, myself included, because we've all been through things. And the name of the game with the healing process is learning to integrate some of those stagnant energies or those places we've been holding or storing within ourselves. So I'll help the individual do that. And what that does is it usually offloads. It's like I'm still very much a paramedic. It's like in my DNA, it's who I am. And that's why I call it holistic first responder, because it's literally like triaging your entire life, right? Pulling you out of the ditch, regardless of how severe your situation is, because I love to just meet people where they are. Like we're all doing the best we can. It is a very intense ride. It has been this whole lifetime, but especially the last number of years. So really listening to people about, what they actually have going on, with drinking or pills or substances or like what they're actually up to just to try to cope, right? No judgment, I understand. And like we'll start to really get a handle on that and look at what's underneath it, which I'm very interested in the roots of things, right?
Oh, I'm
But
so glad
then
you
we'll
brought that
clear,
up.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I personally found in my own healing process, one of the most valuable moments of the entire healing process is the moment you feel safe and validated, right? And so I love just kind of climbing down into the gut, or not the into the darkness, into the crevice with the person, wherever they are, and going through whatever experience they're going through. And I'll just kind of hold the lantern and like
Yeah.
witness and see, no judgment. And it's just that space holding. And then it's incredible when people feel seen without any judgment or without any like, oh, I have to, you know, I can't be like this or I have to overcome, or it's like, no, it's okay to be a mess. It's okay to be where you are right now. And that I've personally found to be such an important pivot point, because then they're like, okay, nothing's wrong with me, right? This is okay. And now I want to change it. And then we do the energetic clearing, which is like pressure washing you or like rotor rooting and open up the energy field so that you can. Most people say they feel like they lost 1,000 pounds of energetic ick, or they feel more like themselves than they have in years, because we're just debriding, which is like scrub brushing the auric field so that they can start to reconnect back to themselves. And then most importantly is it's all important, but I find again, empowering them, like by giving them their own holistic protocol of like, okay, these books, these meditations, these breathing, programs, these, whatever it is, supplements, whatever, because everyone's system is different and every individual needs something different. And so by pulling you out of the ditch, stabilizing your entire field, triaging you, meeting you where you are, and then giving you a protocol, then you feel empowered, right? Because then you know what to do with what's next for the next, however many months, and then onward. And so that's how I work with people now. And it's just been an incredible journey to, like, with me being so closeted for so long and trying to repress it in the 911 system, and then using it in the 911 system and becoming curious finally, because it was incredible, Teri. I could literally watch the chakra systems releasing and the soul exit out the crown as we were doing CPR, like, or I would watch the souls like standing next to the body in a motor vehicle accident, they didn't, it was a trauma, or a drive-by shooting, and it was a trauma, and like developing protocols to assist the soul in their transition. So I've been able to kind of pull from all of this, overcome my own fear with it, and just kind of be like, well, okay, like this is how it is for me. How can I make it work for me? And how can I help other people with it? And so it's been pretty incredible.
Wow. Amen and hallelujah to so much of what you said. And wow, I'm not kidding. At one point, when you first started talking, like I could feel my soul just, I think my soul's right here, at least in my body, and I could just feel it expanding. And I've had it happen before when there's just such pure truth being stated. And so your truth, oh my gosh, it was having a spiritual impact on me. So thank you for that because very powerful stuff. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's our time, and there's millions of us. It's okay. Like I said, wherever you are, whoever's listening to this in your life, it's okay. And if it's been messy, that's how the human experience is. And the less judgment and more compassion you can have for yourself, and while at the same time being real with what you're actually up to, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that say they want to heal, but they're not ready yet to do the work, which means being accountable and taking responsibility for our lives, and then being willing to say, like, whew, yeah, all of that happened to me, right? And how do I want to be with it now? Right. And then there's all of these different modalities and ways, but as sensitives, there's millions of us, clairvoyance, clairaudience, then what that means is you sometimes see things, or you sometimes hear things, or know things, like Teri with hummingbirds, that's stating an intention to your higher self, to the universe, and the universe meets you. I love playing games with that. Like, oh, I want to see a yellow balloon or something random, right? And then it's how fast it comes in, and it can be actually really, really fun to
Yes. Oh
kind of
my
catch it.
gosh. I love
Yeah.
it. Well, I've told the story before, but I'm going to say it really quick again because what you just said, it's so powerful and I love it so much. This was, gosh, maybe like a year ago and 10 months ago, something, when I was really, really sick and wasn't sure if I was going to make it through this. And uh, decided to go meditate at a place called Dolphin Head in our neighborhood up on the Port Royal Sound. And it's funny, it's called Dolphin Head, but I had only seen dolphins there twice in a 2-year period, or, a year and a half. And so I sat me in a chair, nobody was there. And there's always people there, like always people running around, walking their dogs. It's beautiful. It was just me. And I was meditating and tears streaming and talking to God and praying and putting my message out there. And I said, if you could please, please just give me a sign that I'm on the right path with this healing, with these supplements, and with this where I am right now on this healing path. Please just give me a sign. If you could send me some dolphin of hope, that would be fantastic. And as the words like exited my mouth, I'm not kid you not, what seemed like 20 dolphin fin came up right in front of me. Like God was underneath, or some angels, and we're like, all right, get ready, and now.
Yeah.
Like, and there they
Isn't
were.
it incredible?
And
They're
oh my
like,
God, like my whole body was shaking. I was sobbing and I was like, thank you. So I now call him my dolphin of hope. And like you, when we drive over the bridges from Hilton Head over to Bluffton, sometimes when I'm driving by, I'll be like, all right, I'm ready for you, dolphin of hope. And I'm not kidding. Like 9 times out of 10, I'll see a fin come up. And I'm just like,
oh, I love that.
I love it.
Absolutely. Spirit's like, we're going to make darn sure she remembers, right?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Well, thanks for letting me share.
No, I love that. And I think that's a really great example that you set, that, I think a lot of people don't realize their own power. A lot of people don't realize that it can be different. And so if prayer doesn't work for you, you could meditate, you could talk out loud, you can write on a piece of paper, whatever feels good, but exactly what you just did, right? Like, I need help, please help me, to whatever it is, if it's void, if it's God, if it's universe, if it's whatever. whatever resonates to the individual, and then open yourself to receiving that sign, and it can be incredible with how like quickly it's delivered, like you saw. Yeah.
Yes. I love it. I love it. And you know, it's funny when you say that, whoever you're praying to. This morning I was meditating. I was doing an Epsom salt bath and doing some healing work on my body. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to do a meditation. But it became a prayerful meditation. And so my prayer, I swear it was, all right, God, Jesus, Mary, angels of light and love, spirit guides. Like it was like, I just kind of threw it all out. Whoever's listening and paying attention right now.
Yeah.
I just did the all-inclusive prayer.
That's always good. Summoning the entourage you are.
Right, right, exactly, exactly. Oh my gosh. So you're currently writing another book.
Third book.
Yay.
Yep. So I wrote Journey into Grace, Tales of a Psychic Paramedic, or Stories of a Psychic Paramedic, and it's on Amazon. And that was my first one. That was kind of my coming out book. And it was after 10 plus years of still kind of being uh not shy, just kind of closeted. I'm not understanding my abilities in the 911 setting, but my intuition is very strong, always has been. And I just was getting pushed, like there's more for you beyond just the 911. You have to write this book. And I was really scared too, because I put it all in there, like all of my shadow, all of the things that I had done to myself as a result of my trauma and the instabilities, and precarious positions I put myself in, is because I didn't have a sense of stability or safety, right? But my intuition was just like, put everything in. And I'm so glad that I did. So it's not only my coming to terms with being like a very wide open, ultra sensitive, but I interspersed it with the actual 911 calls that I ran and how the energy worked through me. And so that's been incredible because I self-published it and it's just taken off, and I've done Coast to Coast and Gaia TV and, Hay House and all of these things. And to me, it speaks testament to what you and I are up to here, and how there's so many people that have these knowings, or they know there's something deeper, or maybe they see dead people, or they're closeted, they're not quite, they hadn't been ready, and more people are ready, right? And so I think that's why these things are just kind of taking off and expanding. And so we're looking, it's in the hands of a producer, and we're looking for a screenwriter for it, so it's going that way.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it's just time, again, take away the fear, address the stigma head on, identify that there's millions of us, some say 1.6 billion of us. And, that's an incredible thing. And even if those of you guys who are listening, if you're like, well, I don't really feel like I'm sensitive, or I don't see anything or whatever, well, to you, healing, right? Overcoming your own trauma, understanding your own power, understanding like even the basics of energy and anatomy, and how the chakras function, and how your auric field is a semi-permeable membrane, just the basics of understanding. You don't even have to go way into this world, but it can transform your life in terms of the way that you feel physically. You can have more energy, you can have, like, it can just open up all of these doors and avenues in terms of your wellness and happiness, so it's an incredible time to be alive. So that's book one. Book two is Holistic PTSD Recovery for First Responders, Military, and their families. And so that's to my co-workers and colleagues in the 911 system. And book three is Who is Going to Save You Now? And this is talking very much about personal responsibility. Like, we've all just been through a hellacious experience over the last number of years. And it's really looking at pulling in our own power and the willingness to kind of step up for ourselves. I know for myself, when I had gone through such a violent and crazy upbringing, and then I was dealing with high velocity sensitivities. I was over it. I didn't want to have anything to do with this world. I was like, yeah, this sucks. I'm out of here. So I had my overdose, near death experience, and obviously I chose to stay. But when I was coming to terms with my healing process, Teri, I was so mad because I was like, I've been through things way worse. Like most people would have been dead like 10 times over, right? And I was just kind of having this awareness like, yes, you've been through that. And like, nobody's coming to save you. It's still on you to do this. I was so mad about that. Like, I stomped around for weeks, you know? And it wasn't until I finally was just like, okay, fine. Like, it can't get worse from where I was at the begin where I was
Right.
at that point. But I had to assume responsibility for myself and my behaviors and my choices and my actions, and that's really what started to. And so I feel like that's an important, for where we are collectively and societally right now, is we're seeing so many people suiciding out and overdosing on fentanyl, and they're just getting mowed down right now. And I understand death in a way that a lot of people don't. Like, I don't have any sort of judgment or fear around it because I'm so familiar and comfortable with it. I see it as graduation personally. And it's like, if people can start to relax that attachment to I was wronged, therefore I deserve, right? If we can relax that and be like, I was wrong, that's not okay. And I still got to do something for myself here to change this, and teach them how, right? Give them the steps
Yes.
to how, then I really feel like we can shift collectively, because we're at a pivotal point in, the collective consciousness and how humanity continues to navigate right now. It's a volatile time.
Yeah. Well, so again, kudos to you for putting that empowerment message out, because it really is about that empowerment, and instead of the victimization, the oh, I was wronged. I've heard and I've read so many times, because I'm on different support groups like on Facebook, and I just like to read the comments, because I want to see where my audience is and where trauma survivors are in their healing journeys, and so many of them saying that I was never taken care of, and you're right, they need that guidance, and understanding that you can be your own hero, you have to be your own savior, like you have to be the one to make those necessary choices and take those steps along your journey. Yeah.
Mhm. And I personally find, again, validating where they are
Yeah.
and allowing space for them to organically, because this was my experience. If somebody would have come in and been like, you do XYZ, I probably would have been like, yeah, whatever, because
Right.
I was so self-righteous and I was so angry and I was so like, justified in like, we could look at what I'd been through and anybody would pretty much be like, oh yeah, I get it. Okay, right? And we could look at most everybody's experience, because I don't know anyone who hasn't been traumatized, right? I love what you said before we got on here. It's not a trauma race. That's like the best thing ever. Like, I love how you said that. And that said, though, it's a really important space to look at, if we have the willingness, right? Because there's the hurt, and if we've been hurt, then there's a lot of times we guard against, and if we guard against, then we usually start self-medicating, and if we self-medicate, then we get blocks in our field and then disease forms. And this is like kind of how the whole shebang works over periods of time, right? So we have to kind of learn to coil that, and then have the
Yeah.
willingness to be vulnerable and the willingness to be like, okay, that happened to me and I'm not going to let it take me down. Right?
Yes. Oh,
What
thanks
can
for
I,
clarifying that.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
what can I do?
yeah.
And that is a unique spot that is individual choice. And again, like for me as a healer now, or an intuitive energetic healer, it's not for me to choose for like whichever way they is authentic for them is where they're at, right? And so that said, it's still about, did you even know it could be different? Did you even know, right, that you have these different options? And yeah, right now, if I'm just going to be honest, I would say the bulk of the collective is still very much heavily entrenched in victim mentality and really doesn't want to do it for themselves. They want somebody else to do it for them, or they think that they're entitled to because they've been through XYZ. That is shifting, that is changing. And we're also seeing a tremendous amount of death, like, right, as a result, again, with what we've been going through. People are just exhausted on the soul level. And if they don't have it in them or the willingness or whatever, a lot of those guys are opting out from a higher plane or space. That's not a bad thing, right? This is just like we're coming in, we're assessing the scene as paramedic, like looking at the global overview, looking at what's actually happening, like boots on ground, right? And that's what's actually happening. Like people are struggling, and some are just so exhausted over what they've been through over the last couple of years. They're like, yeah, I want to, I'm just too tired.
Yeah.
And that's okay. So we can meet you there and then start to figure out some ways, that you can physically feel better, energetically feel better. And it's usually by having connections and conversations like this just to start, right? Because again, if we get met, we get a little bit of soul food, right? Which is connection, which is validation, which is being heard, which is feeling supported. All of that's soul food. If we can have a little bit of soul food, then that's going to bolster our system and give us a little bit more energy to go heal. But there's so many people that are just so depleted and so wiped out right now. And that's okay. That's just where they're at. So we
Yeah.
can just give everybody big bear hugs, kind of hold
Yes.
space, right? Hold space for them. And then as they come back online, if that's what they choose to do, then give them these steps, right? Like, oh, did you know, like, if you're physically have pain or whatever your physical issue, there's all of these things that you can do, right? There's colon hydrotherapy, there's infrared sauna. Oh my gosh, I've got so many. There's craniosacral there's, Reiki, there's medical intuition, like people like me that can help to kind of restore fields. If you're emotionally, got a lot going on emotionally, there's tapping. You've heard of
Yeah.
tapping, right?
Yeah, I do tapping.
Tapping's great.
Yeah.
There's tapping, there's EMDR brain spotting,
I've
there's
done that.
regression therapy. I love it, right?
Mhm.
There's rage release exercises, like punching a pillow or screaming into a pillow. Nothing to
I had
fear.
my wiffle ball bat. I would take it to the beach with me because I was having fear of open spaces. And so I said, I'm going to take my wiffle ball bat with me. And then I would just whack the sand. And I know I probably look like crazy lady out there, but I was like, I don't care. Like, this is me
Doesn't
getting rid of
matter.
that.
Just get it out. There's so much that's stuck inside of people.
Yeah.
We're seeing anxiety, panic attacks, insomnia, all of that's going to deplete the adrenals, going to throw off the GI, everything's going to get screwed up physically. So just like it's okay to move that energy out, and that's what I'm here to do now. That's the holistic first responder, is like, hi, welcome to your options.
Yeah.
Like, listen, this is the whole roadmap. So, like,
I love it.
yeah,
You're looking at the shelf. Let's see.
like for you, it's going to be.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. Well, I tell folks all the time, probably to the annoyance of my children, um, that everyone's on their own healing journey. So what you just said is exactly it. Like we are all on our own healing journeys. If we can just take a step back and pause for a moment to be like, okay, why, not necessarily why is this person responding this way, but I'm just going to honor where they are on their journey as to why they're responding this way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then everyone is where they are, and that's perfect for them. And not everyone is ready to heal, right? Or to move beyond whatever their thing is, and that's okay. And so, like, if you have people around you, maybe you're not in the healing world, you don't have a whatever, but you've got people around you that are kind of constantly like, you're like, wah, wah, they're really Debbie Downer or whatever. And you can try to help them, but if they're committed to staying in that space and not yet ready to like step up and make shifts in their lives, then we can just be mindful. Like, you can still have compassion for them, but understand that that's theirs. And I just got to stay focused on mine, and
Yeah.
what do I need and how can I fill myself up? And the less you give to people that are not ready to receive, they just can pull energy that can deplete us. So the more the more you recognize that, and without judgment, right? Just be like, okay, it is what it is, but I got to change this for me, right? And then be like, okay, it might be the kids, it might be spouse, it might be coworkers. They are how they are, but what can I do for me? And that's when we
Yeah.
start to understand energetic empowerment. You can learn how to not take on people's energy. You can learn how not to take things personally. And then, like, what does your body need? Like, what is going to make you feel like, what do you need? Right. And the more you fill yourself up and just really focus on your own process, the more energy you're going to have, the more you're going to radiate, and the more people are going to be like, hey, like, what are you doing? Like, I want to, and we can really
Why are
we can,
you glowing?
why are you glowing? And then we can really inspire people without even saying anything,
Yeah.
because we've all been in that position. If we're just like not open to something and somebody gives us like unwarranted like advice, you're like, or unsolicited advice, you're like, yeah, okay, thanks. But when
Yeah.
you're open to it, or if they're like super shiny and you're like, I want some of that, it's just this whole thing is just an energetic dance. And the
Yes.
more we understand our power and kind of how the whole matrix or hologram works, then we can feel good, we can have vitality, we can manifest like really, really rapidly, like you and your hummingbirds. Like, boom, you asked, there it is.
Yeah.
And then we can create realities that feel good to us. And by proxy, what we're doing is setting off a higher vibration that's going to just affect those people that you just go by somebody in the grocery store and say something nice, and that could potentially be uplifting and change their day. So,
Yes. Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. I was going to say, oh, the one thing I went to a little PS, and then I'll get to how people can get in touch with you. But uh, there's a particular person in my life that was just a lot of negative energy going on, a lot of negative energy. And I was having to engage with this person for a reason, for a period of time. And uh, so when I would end those phone conversations, I would always do Ho'oponopono Hawaiian healing prayer,
that's a
which,
great one.
and I would do I'm sorry, I don't understand where your negative energy is coming from. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. And I would just do it over and over until I almost felt like that release of their negative energy. But it is fascinating how that energy exchange works when you do that meditation or prayer, because the next conversation was just not quite so negative, which was beautiful and amazing. So it's very powerful.
Oh, it's incredible. I love that particular prayer. Very familiar with it, very effective, very ancient. That one. That's tribal island wisdom. So very appreciative of that. And absolutely, and it's again, the more we can understand, and you don't have to get all up in depth in terms of, but just little bits of understanding your own energetic makeup or the auric field, or maybe doing some yoga, moving breath meditation, that helps you to connect to your body. You can feel a little bit more grounded and empowered in your own system. And then we can learn to like not take it on quite as
Yeah.
much and shift it, because what we're doing then is we're playing with the quantum field, and the quantum creates matter, it creates the physical. So again, I'm all about the roots of things. Like, I want to go down to the root. Thank you for telling me your symptom, I'm going to go find the roots, right?
Yes.
And then pull up the roots. And so, like, if that person has negative energy, because who doesn't have family or somebody around us that can be challenging to be around, right? This is in part of reality, part of being human. And so how do we deal with that? Well, again, the more you become empowered in your own field, and the more gracious it can just shift and evolve.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Wonderful.
cool. I love energy. Now,
Oh,
I didn't always being bombarded by all the stimulus, but I appreciate it now. Yeah.
yeah, I love it. Wow, I could sit. Oh my gosh, I had like 50,000 questions going through my head. I just was like, oh my gosh, there's so much we could talk about. But I, I mean, I probably have to just have you come back and we'll do
I'll
like
come back another
follow-up
time.
episodes.
Yeah,
Pardon?
I would love
What'd you
to.
say?
After I'll come back another time after I put out
Okay.
my next book. That'd be cool.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
people can find me on sarahkgrace.com. So Sarah with an H and then kgrace.com. And I do individual sessions. That's on there. But I've also started a really sweet online community for people that are energetically sensitive and gifted, and or people that are really ready to overcome their trauma and thrive. So we've got a sweet group in there, and we're doing energy clearings and guided meditations and things like that. That's called the Grace Place, and so you can also,
Oh,
yeah, you can also find that on.
I love it.
And I will be on Gaia TV in Regina Meredith's Open Minds, May-ish 2023, and so you'll find me there.
Wonderful. Oh, well, congrats on that. And again, thank you for shining your beautiful light of hope into the world and joining me today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This is a delight. You're a delight, and thank you for
Oh,
what you do.
thank you. You
You're
too.
like a
And
beacon of light. So I
Sammy just
appreciate
came up
you.
to say
I
hi.
saw.
There she
Hi,
is.
Steve.
Hi, Sia. You ready to say hi to everybody?
Yeah.
We heard your voice and had to come over and say hi. Hi, baby. She never comes over and says hi. That's so awesome. It must be that energy thing. Hi. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today on the Healing Place podcast. And remember, until next time, be gentle with yourself. Thanks. Bye-bye. Hey everybody, Teri Wellbrock again. Just wanted to thank you for listening to the episode today and remind you to visit my website as well as the academy.teriwellbrock.com for the courses. But if you go to my website, teriwellbrock.com, you can sign up for my monthly Hope for Healing newsletter, which is also jam-packed with information and strategies and blog pieces and guest blog pieces and links to shows. And just a great space for thanks for again being here and being a part of this healing space. I very much appreciate you. All right. Bye bye.